Welcome to Chapter 4. We start off with a very short topic on what are eukaryotes. In this topic, we're going to talk about, in general, what eukaryotes are, and more topics within this chapter, we're going to talk about the different types of eukaryotic microbes. This topic and the one after it helps set the stage for understanding the eukaryotic microbes. We need to understand what eukaryotes are and how they work in order to understand the different eukaryotic microbes. So exactly what is a eukaryote? We mentioned this before in Chapter 1, but eukaryotes are characterized by membrane-bound organelles and nuclei. That is the key. When you're looking at them under the microscope, if you can see a big thing in the center or somewhere in the cell, that is the nucleus, and that's a eukaryotic cell. Remember, they're larger than prokaryotes, and they're younger evolutionarily speaking. Prokaryotes outdate eukaryotes by about 2 billion years. And eukaryotes, unlike prokaryotes, can exist as either unicellular organisms, such as protozoa, or can be multicellular organisms, such as you and I. And eukaryotes began as single-celled organisms, but they began to aggregate and work towards becoming those multicellular organisms that are you and me. So what are the three types of eukaryotic microbes? Well, we've been talking about them a lot, so hopefully at this point you can recite them with me. We have protozoa, we have fungi, and we have helminths. And we're going to talk about each of these in this chapter with their own topic lecture. But before we move on, let's talk about how these cells arose. There are two main theories of evolution on how eukaryotic cells arose. That doesn't mean they're competing, they just provide two different examples of how different sets of organelles became part of the cell. It's the endosymbiont theory and the endomembrane theory. We're only going to talk about the endosymbiont theory in here, and we've briefly talked about this in Chapter 1 again. But what happened is the original pre-eukaryotic cell had a nucleus, and what it did is it phagocytized smaller bacteria that later became the mitochondria or the chloroplasts of the cell. And you can see that happening in this picture right here. This gets a little bit confusing, but I've put up a video on it as well. But that's how it works. And as they grew into a eukaryotic cell that we know and all hopefully love, they became to work in a symbiotic relationship where they replicate on their own. Some of the things that help prove this theory is that both mitochondria and chloroplasts have their own DNA, or they have their own DNA within the cell, and they also have a double membrane from that original phagocytosis. So this is the end of our really short introduction. Please let me know if you have any questions about this.